So don't give in to the hype. And definitely, if you're a perverted sex bastard, heathen, don't forget that some of the most eloquent and renowned people were that, or at least had that little bit in them. Now, as teachers and the boy band LFO have already taught us, Billy Shakespeare wrote a whole bunch of sonnets, and he straight up invented a lot of words that are now common. And the bard had one-liners for days. But the one thing that many teachers and boy bands leave out about Mr. Billy Shakespeare is that he was a raunchy motherfucker. For example, take the title of his play, Much Ado About Nothing. Pretty much talks about making a big deal over stuff that shouldn't be a big deal, right? Well, yes, but wait, there's more. Back in the day, nothing was Elizabethan, or however the fuck you say, slang for vagina, since compared to dudes, women had quote-unquote nothing between the legs. So Shakespeare was actually being kinky too, and making a big deal about sex. And there's a lot more where that came from. So first I want to go over is when Benedict gave the D to Beatrice in Much Ado About Nothing. So the passage says, and this is Benedict, I live in thy heart, die in thy lap, and be buried in thy eyes. Now, to die used to mean to have an orgasm. And I'm dead serious. So in Much Ado About Nothing, which again is about quote-unquote nothing, vagina, Benedict is telling Beatrice that not only is he going to live in her heart, but he'll also leave his seed in her lap. I think this is kind of where Andre 3000 came in. I live in her lap, however that shit goes. But it's said that Shakespeare never failed to pull out some dirty jokes. So number 2, when Macduff learned about whiskey dick, and this is in Macbeth. So in the passage reads, and this is Macduff, what 3 things does drink especially provoke? Porter then says, marry, sir, nose painting, sleep and urine, lechery, sir. It provokes and unprovokes. It provokes the desire, but it takes away the performance. Therefore, much drink may be said to be an inquisitor with lechery, and it makes him and it mars him. It sets him on and it takes him off. It persuades him. It disheartens him. Makes him stand to and not stand to, I'm guessing attention. In conclusion, inquivotes him of some shit I can't read what that says, him in a sleep, and giving him the lie leaves him. Now in Macbeth, Macduff gets a lesson about some of the problems with drinking. And thanks to an alcoholic porter, alcohol, the porter explains, makes you snooze and piss, and also makes you horny, provoking quote-unquote lechery. But then that's the issue. It's whiskey dick. Drinking provokes the desire, quote-unquote, but then to get it on, but also makes it harder to get it up. Thus, quote-unquote, it takes away from the performance, end quote. Discussing his boner, the porter explains that although alcohol, quote, makes him stand to, unquote, it doesn't stick around for much long. Now the third one here is when Shakespeare gets a boner from hearing his lover's name. This is in Sonnet 151. The passage reads, my soul doth tell my body that he may triumph in love. Flesh stays no further reason. Stays no farther reason, but rising in thy name, doth point out that thee as a triumphant prize, proud of his pride, he is content thy poor drudge to be, to stand in thy affairs, fall by thy side. End quote. Now, like most of Billy Shakespeare's sonnets, there's a lot going on here, so bear with me. Shakespeare's sonnets were all about love and making love, and as we hear, while his mind was telling him no, his body was telling him yes. And if I could do an R. Kelly impression, then I would have, but, yeah. Now, he eventually, and can just, get kinky with it simply by hearing his lover's name. That's some acid trip flashbacks right there. And a very particular part of Shakespeare's flesh, yes, I'm probably talking about his penis, he starts, quote unquote, rising. Now, even the points, the triumphant prize, which I'm guessing is the gurgly part that, that they love, which makes his dick so proud that he'd be fine with being his lover's servant, thy poor drudge, right? And then he gets even kinkier when he quotes stand, which I'm guessing he's referring to an erection, and then affairs, which would mean, women's genitalia. But ain't no such thing as affairs, 'cause ain't no such thing as a vagina, right? So it's pretty clear that his flesh, quote unquote, goes on and quote unquote fall, which refers to the with a ducumsence of a fancy word that just pretty much is just saying you're losing your boner after sex. And afterwards, as I'm quoted for saying after, that nigga did. And number 4, when Hamlet spit game to Ophelia. In Hamlet, in the passage reads, this is Hamlet saying, "Lady, shall I lie in your lap?" Ophelia goes, "No, my lord." Hamlet, "I mean my head upon your lap?" Ophelia, "Ah, my lord." Hamlet goes, "Do you think I meant country matters?" Ophelia, "I think nothing, my lord." Hamlet then goes, "Well, that's a fair thought to lie between maid's legs." Ophelia then says, "What is, my lord?" Hamlet, "Nothing." There goes that nothing shit again. When asking to put his head in Ophelia's lap, Hamlet makes then another reference to lady parts. And when in the first syllable of country, I'm guessing he meant to guess country matters. Ophelia then says that, she didn't think anything about the comment. Pretty much not giving two fucks. But Hamlet presses on, again, being that thirsty motherfucker that he is. And he used one of my favorite puns where he goes, Hamlet brings up nothing, quote unquote, nothing when it comes to the country matters. Fair at the time that, had to do with both beauty. Hamlet seems pretty excited about the nothing, wink wink between the fucking maid's legs. That motherfucker's a dirty bitch. And number 5, when Malvolio basically dropped the C word in the 12th night. And the passage reads, this is Malvolio talking, or Malvolio, or Malvolio. I don't know how to say it, forgive me. I wasn't an English major. I goes, "By my life, this is my lady's hand. These be her very C's, her U's, her T's, and thus makes her great P's. It is contempt of a question, her hand." Now, on the 12th night, a servant named Malvolio gets a love letter that he falsely believes was written by his girl. Now, after he, reads the letter, he straight up, on some T-Pain level sprung type shit, loses it. And as classy as always, Shakespeare uses the opportunity to drop the fucking C word for the audience. Try pronouncing it like N, and I don't get it, but I know his own lady's hand, her cunt, pretty much makes her pee. And Malvolio talks about his girl and her lady parts about pissing. I mean, I'm not too sure, but there's something in that. I always refer to cunt being pronounced, "I'll see you next time, bitch." Now, the next one, when Venus wanted Adonis to go down on her, and this is in Venus and Adonis, the passage reads, graze on my lips, and if those hills be dry, stray lower, where the pleasant fountains lie. Now, straight up and down, I'm going to say that again. Graze upon my lips, and if those hills be dry, stray lower, where the pleasant fountains lie. Now, if you needed a new or technically really old way to ask your man to go down on you, look no further than Mr. Shakespeare's poem of Venus and Adonis, because the poem is about the goddess of love, Venus, and in her boo, the young hung thirsty, and Adonis, they don't take it the wrong way. Venus is cool if you want to make out a little bit, graze upon her lips, which I thought meant her coochie lips. If it's not there yet, so you got to play with them a little bit where the fountains lie. But Venus doesn't, really have time for all that. So she suggests that Adonis be round another base or two. So don't just kiss her lips, Venus says. Go a little lower to her quote-unquote nothing, to use Shakespeare's term, which is where the pleasant fountains lie. And ladies, maybe you give that line a little bit of, tenderness, or use it on Tinder. Who knows? But now the next one is when Aaron told the ultimate yo mama joke. And this is in Titus Andronicus. I wish I could fucking pronounce it. I'm going to butcher the fuck out of this. I'm glad this is the last one. So Demetrius goes, "Villains, thou hast thou done." Aaron goes, "That which canst not undo." Which Mark. Someone named Chiron says, "Thou hast undone our mother." Aaron says, "Villain, I have done thy mother." Demetrius says, "And therein, hellish dog, thou hast undone. Woe to her chance, and by damned her loath choice." Now, for some context, Demetrius and Chiron are two sons of Tamora, who's the queen of the Goths. And Aaron, a Moor, has a thing with Tamora, and her sons are pissed at Aaron, who's the quote-unquote villain, because they think that he's been terrible, for their mom, leaving her quote-unquote undone. But then Aaron drops one classic literature best where he goes, yo mama jokes, where he goes, he hasn't undone their mom, and that he has done their mom. That's some savage shit. Drop the mic, motherfucker.
Shakespeare.